I'll call the work session into order, and will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Allen.
Present.
Councilmember Hagenow.
Present.
Councilmember Kerr. Here. Councilmember Martin.
Present.
Councilmember Parmet. Councilmember Sullivan.
Here.
Mayor Riley.
Here.
There are 6 members present.
Thank you. First item is communications to council, and I'd like to invite the public to come forward and speak on any topic that's on the work session agenda for this afternoon. I don't think I see anyone in the audience here. Is there anyone online who would like to speak? In that case, I'll declare communications with council completed, and now I'll turn it over to the town manager and let him introduce the High Country Conservation Center.
And I will let our community development director introduce the members of HCC who are presenting us tonight.
That's HC. So basically on the agenda tonight, we're going to talk just briefly about energy and recycling, I believe, correct? Certainly, I believe last year, you had the opportunity to hear AC3 talk about energy code and maybe a couple other items, and they'd like to revisit some of those items. So with that being said, Jess?
Take it away.
It's all you.
Lindsay. Thanks, John. Thanks, everyone. It's so nice to see you all, and thank you for having us tonight. My name is Jess Hoover. I'm the Climate Action Director at the High Country Conservation Center. I have been there, shocker to me, 10 years in May. So yeah, it's a big anniversary. I'm joined tonight with my colleagues, Heather Allen, HC3's Community Programs Director, who you will hear from, and also Narelle Kipple, who is our Climate Action Manager. And once again, just really grateful to be here tonight. As Lindsay mentioned, we were here last May, and just wanted to take the opportunity this evening to come back, share some more about our programs and some of our plans for 2026. And as a preface, really kind of ascertain whether or not there's any interest from Town of Keystone in participating in any of the programs that we run on behalf of some other local governments. And so I will dive into one of these programs. So this is Energy Smart Colorado. It is a residential home energy efficiency program that we run on behalf of all of the other municipalities in the county. And through this program, we offer discounts on home energy assessments for residents within a jurisdiction. And we're also able to provide financial incentives to help residents make energy efficiency improvements at their homes. Our staff, so me and Narelle and as yet to be hired employee, we're down a staff member. We have an open position if you have anyone interested in conservation work. We provide coaching and support for everyone who's enrolled in this program, so we can help fill out the enrollment form on the phone. We connect them with contractors. We connect them with energy auditors. We help review their home energy audit with them, can help strategize improvement projects. And then we also offer workshops. So a few times a year, we'll do workshops on various things. The latest craze, and I will come back to this later, is on cold climate heat pumps, and how we are helping people understand the option of using heat pumps for space heating in addition to or in lieu of their boiler or furnace if they would like to install something like that. We also help contractors pursue continuing education credits, get them connected with state programs and utility programs, all sorts of things like that. So I wanted to give you a snapshot. Go ahead.
Question.
Yeah.
You made a comment at the start of this that Keystone is currently not included in the overall program. I thought it was a countywide program.
It's a countywide program. Each individual jurisdiction pays us to implement the program on their behalf. And so right now, we are not able to offer incentives to residents of Keystone because that financial incentive is funded by the local government. Certainly, if Keystone residents call us We talk to them, we help them on the phone, we get them connected with rebates that are available from Xcel Energy. So we're not turning anyone away. That is not the business that we are in. It's the added incentive. So jurisdictions are pitching in, this is where I need girls' help, $200 for a home energy audit. They cost $500 up front for homes that are 2,500 square feet and smaller. Xcel Energy has a $200 rebate, and then we provide a $200 rebate on behalf of the local jurisdiction. So we're able to buy the cost down to $100. It's a lot of detail, but and I'm happy to share more information later. And then other jurisdictions as well, the incentive rebate. We have varying rebate levels depending on the jurisdiction, because some towns have more money than others, but we have between $500 and $4,000 to give out, again, depending on the jurisdiction and what they want to provide. So here's kind of a snapshot of what it looks like. And I pulled these numbers specifically from folks who do what are called air sealing and insulation projects. So these are the projects that we find most commonly needed in homes in Summit County. We need more insulation, and we need to do some caulking and using spray foam to seal up all the gaps and cracks that you might have in your home where your warm indoor air that you pay good money for leaks out of your home. So our average air sealing and insulation project cost, you can see here, is $6,800. Our average rebate that we're able to provide is about $2,600. Xcel's rebate is on the screen, so you can see that we're buying down the cost of these projects for homeowners. And again, this is average, so some of them are more expensive, some of them are less expensive. We're buying the rebate or the projects down significantly, and then the homeowner realizes the savings year over year. And I should say that, the monetary savings are important, but there's also a lot of increased comfort that comes from increased energy efficiency, especially as you seal up those gaps and cracks and add insulation. So we're providing comfort for homes too. Yes, go ahead.
So one of the things I was thinking about when I was reading this is this countywide, or were these numbers specific for Keystone? And what I'm trying to get at with this is, right, Keystone's demographic of our housing, right, is really quite honestly different than most of the county, in that most of our housing is condominiums, and we do have single family residences. But if you look at the percentage, right, there's going to be a significantly higher percentage of shared units, whether it's condominiums, duplexes, things like that, than single family homes.
Right, it's a great point. So this is our countywide data.
Okay.
And I should say that frankly, energy efficiency work is more effective when we're looking at individual units, because if we're looking at a multi-family condo building that 16 units or something like that, when we want to do efficiency projects, we want to look at the building overall, and doing one individual unit might be good for that particular homeowner. But what would be better is to do these big projects on a building-wide basis. And that's not what this program is designed to do.
Okay.
So it's a great point. And so certainly if the town of Keystone wanted to participate in that program, we would probably scale it much, much smaller to take that into consideration.
So currently right now, if I'm the manager of a condo building and I wanted to have this assessment done, as it stands right now, there's no support for that.
There is. We can do an energy audit and we can provide the homeowner rebates. Xcel does have limitations on the rebates it provides based on the number of units in a building.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thank you very much.
Oh, no, it's a really excellent question. Multifamily buildings are challenging, and we have spoken to Xcel multiple times about the fact that we need more incentives for HOAs and property managers to really make building-wide improvements, because that's where most of the improvements will be realized. Yeah, it's a great question.
So HC3, if we participated, would support an energy audit of a unit.
Mm-hmm.
But if that unit wanted to do air sealing in the unit,
Mm-hmm.
then that wouldn't be part of the existing programs.
We do individual units, yes. So Excel's energy audit rebate is only available for multi-unit buildings if there's 4 units or less. So we wouldn't be able to leverage that Excel energy assessment rebate, but HC3 would certainly provide an assessment rebate, and we would absolutely provide incentives for individual homeowners in their units.
Because there's a number of the units that are in HOAs that are where the homeowners are actually paying the utilities.
Right, yes.
And so and the HOA wouldn't necessarily expend the dollars to do the audits, but the homeowner or even the air sealing,
Yeah.
they would consider that a homeowner responsibility.
Right, and in that situation, we would be more than happy to help.
Right.
Yeah, thank you. These are excellent questions. Thank you very much for asking them.
And so if I'm hearing this correctly, in a situation where I own a condo and I'm responsible for the utilities, then you would view that as like a standalone unit that could do this type of assessment?
Right, it's just that the Excel Energy wouldn't provide its energy audit incentive to that homeowner. Yeah,
Unless they were a building with 4 or less units.
correct, correct.
See, a number of the townhome HOAs, they are less than 4 per unit.
And what I'm trying to get at this is like, where would this
Right.
actually be approachable in our town?
I guess trying to help clarify. So we do see individual homeowners that have condos do this program across the county. The issue that kind of arises a little bit is where they are allowed to, within what falls within their envelope. So are they able to add more insulation into their walls, or does that become an HOA area? And so that really is what we dive into with individual homeowners to make sure that the programs, the home energy audit is worth it to them. All homeowners, though, typically are allowed to do that air sealing work, which we see huge savings from, even standing alone.
Thank you.
Just how does this work with Northwest Cog? Are you familiar?
Yes, yes,
Okay, I know they have a weatherization program.
yes.
I think they mostly focus on lower income.
That is correct. They focus on individuals or households that are at 80% of the area median income and less. And so we try to make sure that folks who enroll in our program, if that's their income level, we let them know about Northwest COG's programs and refer them. And then we are endeavoring to serve the community who earns more than that. And we also have we do have an income qualified program if it's of interest. So if people fall within 80% to 150%, we are able to access higher rebates for their projects. And we buy their audits down to 0. So we can give them a free energy audit, and we can give them, and frankly, without any funding from a jurisdiction, up to $2,000 in incentives if they do a project, and that's because of grant funding from a partner organization that we have access to. Yeah.
And we've talked a lot about homeowners, right? But what is it, like somebody who rents,
Yes.
right? They obviously bear the cost of the energy, oftentimes, I should say, not always, but oftentimes bear the cost of the energy and heating a space and the livability aspect and the comfort, right?
Yep.
But what's the incentive for the landlord or owner of that property to make that investment if they're not realizing the cost of the energy, they're not having to live there? But I'm thinking from like an environmental perspective, and when we talk about Xcel Energy's on this later, and we're going to talk about the pipeline and how we need to be efficient, right? So what's the incentive for me as a homeowner to look at $3,800 and be like, yeah, I'll do that out of the goodness of my heart?
Mm-hmm. It's a great question. And I will say that renters are certainly welcome to participate in these programs. We like to have, well, we need to have the landlord and homeowner approval. We're not just going to go into someone's house, but we welcome them to participate. I think that the incentive for them is it actually makes their home more durable. over the long run. If you're, and it, you know, it's a benefit to them if they're adding more insulation, if they're sealing gaps and cracks, those are essentially faults in a home. So we are helping to make that home more durable, safer to live in, and certainly more comfortable.
Okay.
Great questions. I will move on in the interest of time.
Yeah. Sorry for the derailment, but I appreciate the answers.
They're really great questions, and I appreciate them. Briefly, I wanted to mention that we actually had grant funding last year, and we were able to hire a bilingual program coordinator. So we've been doing a lot more outreach in Spanish. It was something that we've been wanting to do for a long time, and so we now have a lot of energy information as well as waste reduction information that we're able to provide in Spanish too. Heather can touch on this more, but we're also doing a lot of outreach to local businesses and training frontline workers on recycling and things like that. Whoops. Okay. So I want to talk about climate action, and this also relates to the Excel conversation you all are going to be having later. So our climate action programs are also funded by community partners. Our climate action work is funded by all of Summit County's local governments, as well as the ski areas and some larger businesses. Like we get grant funding from Brett Graham Vacations, we get funding from the Climax. Oh gosh. Like community, it's not the community investment, but I don't know. I get a small grant from them either. And all of that funds the work that we do around the community on climate. So we lead the Climate Action Collaborative. This was the group of stakeholders that came together in 2018 to create the counties, and when I say county in this sense, I mean the geographic county, first climate action plan. This funding also helps us update our countywide greenhouse gas emissions inventory every 3 years. We facilitate 3 different sector-based working groups looking at building efficiency and decarbonization, transportation, renewable energy. And then through these working groups, we've designed new programs and policies in partnership with local governments that we now implement. And I have an example of one that I'll share with you. We host community events and workshops. So like last year, we did 3 different electric vehicle test drive events that we hosted around the county. We did one in Frisco, Silverthorne, and Breckenridge. We hosted a comedy night in Silverthorne, the pavilion, that's the picture on your screen. We hosted a climate activist and mountaineer to give a talk in Breckenridge at the beginning of last year. And then we do, I mean, there's a lot of overlap with our workshops. We're doing a lot of educational workshops about electrification. And then we also run marketing campaigns. So I'm going to put a pin in electrification and mountain energy and just give you an example. The Solarize Summit program was born out of our Climate Action Collaborative. So this is now a program that we offer, that we implement on behalf of other local governments in Summit County. And what we do in this program is we, HC3, works with an installer in solar for solar panels. We connect, we make it easier for people to go solar. So we connect people with the solar installer who comes and does a site assessment on their home. And the homeowner can say, yes, I want solar, or no, it's not for me. And then traditionally, we provide incentives. They're currently $1,650. And then the installer, because we are providing them a pipeline of interested customers, gives everybody who signs a contract a discount on the installation of their solar. So since 2019, we've worked with almost 350 residents across the county to do solar. I will say that folks in Keystone can also participate in this program. They get the installer discount. We just don't get the local government discount. We've had a handful of folks we started tracking folks from town of Keystone once you all incorporated. We've installed almost 3 megawatts of solar since the program started in 2019. It's a weird number. So if you've ever seen one of the solar gardens in Breckenridge, that's half a megawatt. So like 6 of those across rooftops in the county. And then, you know, because they are generating their own electricity, you know, every household is saving about $1,100 on their electric bill every year. So Mountain Energy Project. I want to just touch on that because we are going to be doing a lot of work about it this year without calling it Mountain Energy Project because people don't know what that is. HC3 was really involved behind the scenes working with Jesse Burley from the town of Breckenridge, who was, kind of the point person for the community collaborative. We have so much data from these programs. We provided a lot of data, and we were able to tell Excel, like, hey, we have more boilers than furnaces. Like, you need to think about X, Y, Z, or hey, if you're telling people to get your rebates that they need to remove their boiler, that also probably means they're going to lose their hot water. And what are you going to do about that? So we've been really involved in helping to shape their rebate programs so that they make sense for the housing stock that we have in Summit County. And right now we are working with them. We are pitching them on an outreach plan for this summer where we host electrification fairs in multiple communities across the county so that we are bringing this information to people where they're at. And we want to make them fun with food trucks and activities for kids. And we want to bring, heat pump installers along with homeowners who've already installed heat pumps, along with, gosh, I don't know what else, light bulbs, I don't know. Probably more electric vehicle ride and drive events, just to make these community events that people want to attend, so we can provide information on here are the incentives available from Excel, here's how you sign up, and also here are the state incentives available now, here are the incentives HT3 has. So we are going to be doing a ton of outreach about that, starting, I would say, this summer, have some lead time with planning. We also want to put together an all-electric tour of homes, so we can find folks in the community who already have heat pumps and heat pump water heaters who'd be willing to open their homes up for people to tour, so they can kind of, ground truth what it's like to live with a heat pump. And then we're talking about hosting monthly office hours virtually, so people can just tune in and ask us whatever questions they have about the rebate programs and accessing the rebates. And then we'll be doing, thank you, Narelle. We'll be buying some portable induction cooktops that people can rent for free from us and try out for a week at their home, so they can test out what induction cooking is like before they decide, maybe they want to rip out their own gas stove and install an induction cooktop. So those are some more examples of what we do through our climate action programming. Okay. That is the information I had. And I know that Lindsay had wanted Heather to spend a few minutes on recycling as well.
Could we ask that? I really wanted to learn about this. ERP or EPR?
EPR.
Yeah. Could you guys hit on this?
Yes, that is what Heather's here for.
Hiding behind the podium from you all there. Hello again, I'm Heather Allen, the Community Programs Director. I oversee our waste diversion, water conservation, and sustainable food programs. But yes, specifically, Lindsay and Jessica invited me here tonight to talk about extended producer responsibility. I do have some slides in our appendix highlighting our programming. If we have time, which I don't know if we will, but always happy to come back and talk more about those. But this evening, I'm going to be focused on extended producer responsibility, or EPR, or Colorado's Producer Responsibility for Statewide Recycling Act. So it's essentially a law that the state of Colorado, the legislature, adopted. That's going to require anyone who sells goods in Colorado to register and essentially pay to make sure that they are responsible for the end of life of the packaging of the products they're selling for us. So this is specifically packaging and paper products. So you may have heard things about battery. There's like a battery version of this as well that passed in the legislature either last year or the year before. I can't remember. The great thing about extended producer responsibility is that money that the folks are paying in is going to make recycling free for everyone, all residents in the state of Colorado. So by the end of this year, we should start to see that impact for residents. And then by 2030, that will extend to schools, government buildings, small businesses, But essentially, this first iteration is going to be for residents, which
You
is,
say resident, does that mean, what about HOAs?
that includes multifamily units. Yeah, great question.
When you say free, is that, like, let's say I'm waste management, right? And I have a pickup fee of $600 every time I come and grab the dumpster. Is the intent that this will be free, including the pickup fees, or just free the disposal fees?
Free. So it's a great question. The haulers, so, okay, I didn't put this in the slide, but I have an image of the flow of money. It is going to flow from the producers to Circular Action Alliance, who's the producer responsibility organization that the state of Colorado is working with to help producers come into compliance with this law. And they will manage that fund of money, and they are going to partner with towns of Keystone and other towns, municipalities, but also with haulers to have them, the haulers will get part of that money, and they are passing those savings on to their customers.
So, and having not read the law, does the law say that a hauler is no longer able to charge a person for recycling?
Yes. So I don't know what the exact language is myself, but the implications is they can no longer charge for recycling. Yes, it is great news, especially for us. This is really supportive of our community diversion goal of diverting 40% of waste from the landfill, so we can extend the life of the landfill.
One other thing you mentioned, that's awesome. Thank you. One other thing you mentioned where folks are paying in. Can you clarify who the person is that's going to pay in? And I guess background, I'm born and raised in Connecticut, and we had a bottle fee. So like every soda can you had, every plastic bottle you had was 5 cents. And you paid that. Like if I were to go get a soda can, I paid the 5 cents up front. And then the idea is when you recycle it, you get the 5 cents back. Is that like, am I as the customer paying that fee, or is Lindsay as the business owner paying that fee?
The business owner is the intent.
Okay.
So essentially, the Amazons, the Pepsis of the world are going to be incentivized or de-incentivized to put their product in a package that can't be recycled or is less recyclable. So kind of like what the implications of this could be, that we will see better packaging come through, less of the plastics that aren't recyclable in most places. I think that's like one of the many end goals. Hopefully it'll create more end markets where the commodities of these recyclables can be sold. Maybe it'll create more acceptable products, but essentially, like, if they don't change their packaging, they're going to pay more money. And then that's going to make the pool of money bigger that will go to support the end of life of this recycling. So for Summit County, because we're already so set up with recycling, the big win for us is free recycling. But there are communities that don't have recycling drop sites or curbside offerings. And so this money will be going to help build those programs for them. So there are different stakeholders getting different pools of money. The Summit County Resource Allocation Park, the SCRAP, will be getting funds as a processor from this pool of money. The town of Keystone will be getting money for education and outreach from this pool of money to essentially let your residents know about this new statewide program. That's another piece that I was going to talk about on my other slide about marketing. There'll be a statewide campaign about recycling, making it more understandable, less confusing. The recycling is supposed to be more efficient and effective, as easy as throwing away your trash, and hopefully rebuild and build more trust in the recycling system in Colorado. And so, you know, from HC3's perspective, like, we don't know how much this pool of money is going to be for you all yet for education and outreach. Circular Action Alliance has not nailed down. It's going to be $1 per household. So, and how they determine that household is based on like census data, I believe. So it doesn't necessarily account for our tourism industry. So we are anticipating this dollar amount not being super significant. So HC3 is hoping to work with each of the towns to be your education and outreach provider. And so what I wanted to talk to you all about tonight, if you're not super familiar with us, is we've been kind of the recycling folks in town for the past 50 years. We're celebrating 50 years this year. And we want to work with each of the towns. So we'll partner with CAA, get their marketing materials that are going to be customizable by town and by county and all of that. And we will customize those. We'll do some co-branding with Town of Keystone and then HC3 and CAA and the statewide. And we'll kind of own that outreach and education. And this is already what we do. You already in Keystone kind of get the benefits of our education and outreach programming. It's countywide. It's not specific to town funding. So what we hope is when you find out how much money you're getting, you'll say, you will tell the CAA, who Jessica, I want to give her a shout out. She got in your interest form and built you all a service profile with CAA expressing like, hey, we are interested in participating in EPR because it is optional. And we want to move forward working with you all. So we get funds for education and outreach. So before April 13th, she'll have to complete a service agreement or start a service agreement. It'll come through you all for signatures and approval and your legal team and what have you. But essentially, that's when we'll know how much money you're getting. And what we hope is that you will tell the CAA that you want to do a memorandum of understanding with HC3 and let us kind of own your education and outreach.
What obligation, if the town participates in the program, what obligation besides providing the education with the dollars we receive from them do we have?
For the municipalities, for you all, that is about it. The haulers and the processors have many more obligations and but the service agreement will be specific with the town of Keystone. Sure. So you all will have an opportunity to kind of negotiate those terms, but the simple version is like education and outreach and making sure that you're doing everything you can to let your residents know about this, that recycling is free. To incentivize them to start recycling if they aren't already.
Thanks. Do you know what the some of the county haulers have started signing up? What's their timeline?
They won't kind of enter into the phase that we're in until June, I believe. However, CAA has already been in conversations with the major haulers, so Waste Management, Waste Connections, which is Timberline here. And I know Garbage Gurus have already connected with CAA too to express their interest. So they were out front, CAA was out front and talking with them to making sure like that this is going to work. The state with this law is committed to making this work and making recycling free and easy for folks who live in Colorado.
Go ahead.
That's all I have for extended producer responsibility. Like I said, I'm not here necessarily to talk about my other programs, although I'd love to. But I'd be remiss to not let you all know, if you didn't know already, that at the landfill here, the scrap, they did just open a new convenience center. So it's essentially a drop site, like the one in Silverthorne, and then plus. So they take household hazardous waste, clothing, scrap metal, and then everything that the recycling centers take as well, including food scraps. So it's just a little bit more conveniently located for you all who live in Keystone. You don't have to go to Silverthorne anymore if you weren't aware.
Just a couple of quick follow-ups on the EPR. So yeah, I know you'd mentioned like Pepsi and the big players, right? So if I got a Pepsi bottle, a plastic bottle or a can, right? I believe, if I understood you correctly, that basically as long as it's a recyclable material, that does not have a fee associated with it, right?
Not for the producers are paying either way.
Okay.
Because they now have before EPR, the people responsible for the end of life of that packaging for the cost of that was us. And so now what EPR is bringing is it's making the producers responsible for end of life. So they are now funding the recycling of that. And the easier that thing is to recycle, the less they'll pay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess what I'm trying to get at and what I'm thinking about this is like, I really don't care about the Pepsis, right? Because they have billions of dollars. What I care about is the mom and pop macaroon place that opens up down the road and has plastic clamshells, right? What does that person or that small business's responsibility look like? Do they have to then procure more expensive packaging, or will they just pay a 2-cent higher fee for that packaging? Or what does that tangibly look like if I was that macaroon place?
You know, that's a great question in the sense of how CAA is differentiating their service agreements, or I don't know if they're calling it that on the producer side, but they have to register with the state through CAA.
Every
business that wants to sell products in the state of Colorado. So it could be their fees are different based on, like, if I would imagine they would take into consideration the size and income of your business. And to be transparent, CAA is born out of, I think, about 20 to 25 producers getting together and saying, hey, we know we're going to have to be compliant with this law. We need help. And so, like, they are funding the CAA. So the Amazons, the Pepsis, I don't have the full list, but I can get that to you all. But yeah, I do think that we want to make this work. It is definitely not to penalize the businesses for trying to do the right thing, and certainly not to increase their costs so much that now they're passing it down to the consumer. But I don't know the specifics or the nuances of that.
With that, we had talked about partnering, right, and an MOU and all this kind of stuff. Would that material that goes out be targeted at only the residents that are recycling, or would that also be able to be targeted at businesses that are going to have to become compliant with this?
From our perspective, it's on the residents and then the business who are the recyclers.
Okay.
So that leaves it up to CAA to do the ground pounding to figure out which restaurants are using clamshells and which. That sounds. Do you have any idea where they are in that process?
Sounds like a good problem.
Well, I do believe if you own a business, if you do business in the state of Colorado, there's probably a process with the state you have to go through, and that's the filter that would kind of like trigger CAA to get involved. But from what I can tell on their website, it is on the producer to register. And what the penalty is for someone who sneaks in and sells, I'm thinking like the eBays and the Etsy's of the world. I don't know all of the facets of that side of it.
I actually, the reason I asked is I'll be interested if there's a point where we see a pivot locally where some of the local producers start using different materials that are more recyclable, right?
And then as more and more states adopt this, there's 7 in the United States that are working on this. And we are a leader. I want to say Utah is maybe a little bit ahead of us.
Okay.
But
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Appreciate your presentation.
If I may weigh in to answer a few questions, there are exemptions for small businesses. No one is excluded under the general law, but the enabling laws provide exemptions under, I think, $5 million in annual gross revenues.
Would like a Cisco get hit with that fee instead of like the main supplier get hit with it instead of the restaurant?
Yeah, but one reason the main suppliers were strong supporters of this law was because they were having problems acquiring the raw materials for much of their packaging. So the big businesses see this as a wash for them because it provides a more ready source of materials for their packaging.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all that information.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Town manager, recap of the council retreat.
Okay. So let me pull this up here. As you are all aware, but the people out there may not be, on January 21st, the town council had a strategic half-day strategic goals retreat. We had at the Keystone Center, George Jutras facilitated it, couldn't come up with the correct word there, was our facilitator for the retreat, and he produced the attached report. And if we'd like to go over this quickly, if we're missing anything, if you think things are emphasized that weren't emphasized, that are left out of the report, let's try to correct those now. This is driving my planning for our actions that town staff will be taking in the near future. And we can start kind of with the short-term themes, and I'll explain what we as staff are doing already and see how it will work out. So as I kind of mentioned, I really like the idea of connection to defining Keystone by our connection to nature and our connection to community. Some of the ideas in connection to nature were improved trails, open space maintenance and management, and sustainability, including dark skies. Well, we are having the capstone project coming in from University of Colorado to do a wayfinding signage map and formalizing our trail system. Once the USFS starts getting staffing in there that will stay there, we can explore expanding through a special use permit similar to Frisco's use or town of Winter Park's use to allow the town to contribute and work on the trail system surrounding towns. Trails and open space master plan, we will be hiring a consultant by early summer. I imagine all these things are ideas that came out of the retreat. Connection to community and each other. One connection kind of crosses over: connection to nature, connection to community. Open space and trails, for instance, is now focusing on different segments of the community trail, hopefully figuring out a good pathway to that, along with considering how that trail will branch out and connect to neighborhoods, connect to the forest trails, connect to retail businesses and such. Explore year-round community, recreational, economic opportunities. Destination Blueprint is really focusing on that project and our marketing community. Continue developing a sense of place. We're not just talking about coexistence with STRs. Maddie's been working very hard on our automatic responses and how we deal with complaints, but we're also doing things like setting up our 4th of July that I'll talk about later. We're going to have the first town-sponsored 4th of July events at Decatur Field. We have Town Cleanup Day. We're going to have other community events where it's really just, I don't want to say just for the locals. It's for the locals and the people who want to hang out with the locals. Can come and get together and recognize their neighbors and just have a good time, creating that true sense of community. Connectivity to the community and each other clearly also deals with safety and traffic issues. We'll be doing a lot of issues on that. We'll be talking about Avis at our next meeting, in fact, and probably I'll be presenting a enabling ordinance to allow us to put Avis cameras in at least. We've already hired an engineer to design 3 points along Highway 6, our Razor Drive bus stop, our Highway 6 and Tennis Club Road crossings and drainage problems, and then a bus stop farther down by Antlers Gulch and West Hills. And we're finally talking the connected Keystone. we're talking how the various neighborhoods interact. And I'll go back to the 4th of July with that. We're coordinating with Vail Resorts and KNC because they both do events. So July 3rd will be 4th of July events in River Run, including a very cool drone show, hopefully. And July 4th will be activating the lakeside area through our event at the 4th of July. And between those two events, keeping people in the Keystone area for the full 4th of July weekend. There are a whole lot of other things we'll be doing short term. I'll be bringing a timeline in the next meeting or two, actually, of staff projects throughout the coming year. But now I'd like to go through long-term vision and listen to you guys calling out issues or anything. Yes, Councilman.
Before we move off of short term, ultimately, the purpose of this would be to drive decision-making and prioritization of time and finances. So it seems like you are already using at least the short-term goals. I appreciate that. I wouldn't lay it out like this, sometimes the way some of it's, but that's for another day. One thing, if you said it so fast, I blinked and missed it. I don't think you mentioned dark skies. Did you?
I did, but
Must have been taking a note.
And it was just like, and at this point in dark skies, the main things we've taken, that dark skies is the goal of staff, and it sounds like a goal.
Well, I don't think we've ever had an actual discussion to decide whether we want to move.
What we have done is
That's-
made sure as staff that any new developments,
Sure.
any changes that would trigger new compliance with dark sky, all of our code currently calls for what are basically dark sky compliant light fixtures and things like that. They're technically not designated, but they will meet dark sky compliance. Down shielded lights, downward facing lights, issues like that. So we're not going to fall behind.
John, forgive me. I'm not asking for that update. I think we should have it on a future agenda
Yes.
to discuss how deeply we want to get into dark sky. I appreciate what you're saying,
Yep.
but the current county codes probably are a little different than what dark sky wants. And we would like to, I think it's a matter of understanding the nuances of this program.
And I agree. I was just trying to point out, we're not falling behind by
Okay.
not having.
I got it, and I appreciate that.
One of the things that I bounced kind of on this conversation, right? And I certainly don't recall the exact nuances of the conversation over a month ago, right? But I think that the idea here was sustainability was part of our focus, right? And I know Aaron or Councilmember Parmet was a big advocate for dark skies, so I didn't know his voice isn't being heard right now, or else he probably would give us a lecture about.
He's online.
Oh, he is, Aaron. But I know his voice is in this. Okay. But what I'd like to see with sustainability, right, in the short term is what our options are to even explore, right?
Yep.
Is it dark sky? Is it ordinances that regulate plastic like Breckenridge? Like what are our options for that? And dark sky is clearly one of them, but
only one.
But only one.
Water.
And to Carol's point, we haven't talked about it or learned about it or decided that dark sky is the one we want to go with for sustainability. So I guess what I personally would view for this, and the guidance I would suggest, and I don't want to speak for everyone, is use sustainability as the overarching theme, with the goal being exploring what sustainability paths we can look at.
I agree.
I think that's well said.
Mhm.
Perfect. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, at this point, as our council members have so wisely done, I'd like to throw the long-term report to you as a council, and understanding long-term vision is just that. This is not locking us in to anything. It's always good. Everything we do will be done generally on the short term, year by year, with council analysis. But these are things that council wanted to keep in mind, and were good ideas.
And I think that part of what we had as this conversation is that a lot of these long-term goals are not necessarily you know, in 5 years, we're going to start talking about a gondola. In 5 years, we're going to start talking about a DMO. This is one of those things that we can't get done. Well, not that we couldn't get done, but it is very, very improbable that we get any of these done in the next 12 months. But we can start them in the next 12 months. And that is my understanding of it. Does anyone disagree or different comments?
I would agree because I look at some of these and think of it as on a continuum over time. And sometimes it'll be a matter of saying, okay, at what point do we want to at least put this on the agenda to start talking about it beyond vagaries, which none of these are bad, but, you know, fleshing them out. So not that I'm asking you to do that now, but.
Yeah, if I can just add where I think this really will come into play is if we can really get that kind of long-term vision nailed down of kind of what's important, right? Because in the next year and the next 5 years, there's going to be lots of things that are going to come up that are going to grab our attention that we're going to have to deal with. But if we have that framework that we can run this through the calculator of, hey, these are our important priorities, this fits directly into that, and that allows us to commit the funds or to actually deep dive into those kind of things and use it as kind of a triage, because there's going to be things that are going to come up that may not be on this priority list, and we want to table those till later because it doesn't necessarily fit. So I think it's extremely important to have this framework down that can help us make some of those priorities, because things are going to come up, you know, not necessarily what's on our timeline, but what's on the timeline of things that are happening around us or being forced upon us.
Can I ask a question? I was all on board with this whole thing all the way through what we're talking about right now. Then I started getting confused with all the stuff in the back, the next 7, 8 pages, because they kind of fall under some of the stuff that's short-term, long-term on the front. And I didn't really know how to react to some of that. Yeah, like we talked shoulder season, housing.
The layout of the report was really hard.
Are those supposed to be subsets of the short and long term?
Yes, some of these things will fall under both short and long-term goals. Housing affordability, just like Councilmember Kerr said, some things have to get started right now. Some things we do have to take actions on right now, but we're not going to solve them
right now.
It'll be a long process to solve them.
So those
a lot of
are
short-term actions. Transportation and parking, you know, that is something we need to start having discussions about right now. What role is the town going to take in transportation and parking? Understanding that we don't own any of the parking lots and the transportation is all provided by different organizations.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Long-term vision themes. There's nothing about housing in that. I mean, to me, and I'm just picking on one item. I'm just such an organization guru sometimes. And I'm just trying to say, how do we turn this document into something more actionable?
That's what we're doing here literally right now. I wanted to go over this document with you and see what we need to change to make this document work for us. And how do we make it more actionable? To me, it's in the, like you said, the front end makes a lot of sense and the back end is just a whole lot of ideas.
Yeah.
And I think,
Or here's where you could find more information.
yeah,
We need to tighten some of that up.
yeah. And
This is like a transcript of our meeting.
Yes, it does.
It does not look like it was
Work
formatted.
on.
In fact, that's my problem with the report. I had expected that the consultant was going to actually, based on our conversation, come up with a draft roadmap for here are the things that the council needs to focus on in the next 12 months, the short term And then in the longer term, what are the other actions that we need to keep in mind as we're dealing with some of the short term? And this is really like minutes.
Did we pay for a
Really does
report from the consultant?
what?
Did we pay for a report from the consultant?
Yes.
That's what this is.
Yes.
So I'd like to,
We did not pay for an analysis by the consultant. We did pay for a report of the retreat. This is not supposed to be, this is not like the comp plan. We didn't hire him as he's not a consultant. That's the absolute complete.
he was a facilitator
He was a
for
facilitator.
our time. Yes, okay.
But there's
So-
something in the middle though, where they could organize it a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, and we are going to pay for a consultant to create a strategic plan report as we come throughout this year with more input from the community, not just the council singing in the room. But this will be the foundational basis for that consultant to start.
What's the timeline for that?
We hope to have a consultant hired by early summer, and I don't want to give you a timeline on that.
Just general.
Yeah.
I'd like to really echo what the mayor said. I thought you summarized it quite well. And if anyone were to look at this right now, I'm not sure this really represents our priorities. It represents, as you said, everything we said.
Yeah.
And my initial reaction is, oh my word, if safety isn't top of this list, I'd be embarrassed to turn to the community.
Right.
So let us consider this a working document, since it is our council document. Do we want to work on this and try to structure it?
Normally, what I would do, throwing out my consulting background.
Is give your
Police
people
fix.
more advice and guidance.
I mean, it's got great stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got almost everything we've ever talked.
But everything's
It just
equal.
needs to be a little bit more organized with priorities. Maybe it's long-term, midterm, short-term. But put everything into 3 buckets and then try to bucketize those things into buckets.
So I ask again, are we, as council members, willing to take a shot at reorganizing this?
Why do we have to reorg, I don't think well, my perspective, to answer your question, right, is I think we've given the information, and the information's in this 10-page document right here.
It is.
It just needs to be processed. And
My question is, who will pay the fees?
I wish we had some, yeah.
Oh, I had not intended this to come back on you.
No, this does come back on
This
me.
is-
Would it be
It's
helpful
our
for us
council
to take a
laws.
would it be helpful for us to take a first stab at it?
No, because what'll happen is we'll have workshops on transportation, on quality of life things. And that's where we'll go. We can't take this whole document right now. And that's where I'll come and present, here's what I want to do in the short term. Here's things that you listed as a town that we want to see accomplished. How do we need to prioritize these going forward? What's most important for you?
I guess what I would like to see is in the short term, what do we need to be based on this? What should our focus be for the next 12 months?
Right.
Yeah, and that I'd love to see council.
So you've already told us what you're already planning to do based on this. So the question comes back to us, and I think this is how you started. Is this right? Is this the right list? Do we want to take anything off or put anything on? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes.
Is this the night to do that? I'm thinking maybe not.
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
I guess as I look at this, we have plans for, as the town manager said, early summer for him to come back and talk about how he's going to be organizing the strategic plan development. That will cover that. I would expect that strategic plan to cover a lot of the details of where we're headed And that will be vetted through us, through a consultant dealing with that. In the near term, and that's one of the actions that would come out of this, is, yeah, we need the strategic plan. And that's on his, in the near term test, to do that and get that developed. Trails and open space, same type of thing. We've funded a trails and open space master plan for this year, same type of thing. And I would hope the town manager for the next would be able to lay out for us for the next 12 months what the plan is to start approaching the implementation of these, recognizing that some of the long-term priorities may change depending on the strategic, what comes out of the strategic master. So, and I think so I guess I looked at this as it has some ideas for a start, but it's nowhere close. It's not a strategic master plan.
We didn't expect that.
No, but still we have and I wouldn't expect to have this document become a strategic master plan because we have plans to have someone to come in with community input and put that together for us. The real question is, to me, is what are the steps that we expect that our staff to do in the next year?
Yeah. And
Then keep in mind that these are probably longer term goals. It's something that would help implement this. And then that gives us the ability to judge where we are as we go through execution in the year.
And I think this calendar you're talking about will be very insightful for us. Much obliged on that one. What is the timeline for once we do have the strategic plan contract in place? Is that a 3-month project, a 6-month? Do we have an understanding of that?
I would guess a 6-month.
Okay.
Just because to me, even more so than the comp plan, this is a community engagement driven plan. It's who are we? You know, who do we want to be? And it's really important that we get as much community feedback into that process.
And I'm presuming that this will incorporate all the effort that the community has already invested in telling us who they think we are and who they want to be. Yes?
Yeah, we have 2 good.
The RTP and the comp
Yeah.
plan. Okay, good. Thank you.
Would we be able to ask, and this is to Dan's point, right? To have this document maybe fleshed out a little bit more so it's not necessarily notes or minutes, it's more like a working document. And again, I'm just going to use one example. Under the priority areas, communities as a sub bullet is there 5 times. So maybe we could like not materially change it, but just reorganize it a little bit and summarize, like if we're talking about community for nature and these bullets, let's all put those all together. And if we're talking about community in another way, put those all together. But it's just, I guess what I'm trying to get at is it's very hard to read as is because it is minutes for the event, which I understand that, right? But I think it'd be easier.
I can do that. Edit. I can throw an edit on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to show the raw document.
Yeah. So
when you come back.
Okay.
And I would recommend in the future, as we have additional retreats, that we actually make sure that that's one of the expectations, that you would have a semi-polished output of a report versus a bunch of notes.
Maybe a structured report, and we can tell them what the structure would be.
And maybe that's something we can set this year as we learn from this, and like, this is what would be helpful for the future years.
Right. Thank you for
I have
giving us this time to look
I've
at it.
facilitated groups of like we had. And the product was always a structured report down to the type of actions that you should be, that we've agreed on that we want to take as we're going forward.
I think we made it very clear at the beginning of this too, just because this was in a way a strategic retreat without any community input. I would expect we will have lots of retreats like this.
Yeah.
And it'll be a whole lot easier to do a structured report after we've had community input. We didn't want to go to the community and say, this is what's happening
Absolutely,
without your input first.
100%.
Generally, I would say there are a lot of good ideas in there.
Good ideas. Yeah.
Those are our ideas.
But I mean, capture them.
But if you think about the ideas in here, they're all RTAP things. They're all
Right.
strategic.
They are informed by our.
Yeah, they're comp plan stuff. There's nothing new in here.
And I think that this is going to be a great, even as is right now, right? But hopefully in the future states when it's polished, like when somebody's asking what our goals are for the community, we can say, well, we talked about this as a council, and this is where the 7 or 8 of us that were there at that time kind of thought we landed.
Yeah.
And please give public comment if you disagree, and we want to hear from you, right? But I think that this is a really good document to have.
And it's just a start. But I will.
Do you have enough items to go forward?
Oh, absolutely.
Next item is Mountain Energy MEP program.
And I thought all my thunder was going to be stolen when HC3 started to talk about it, but they really didn't go into any depth. So first of all, this entire, the PowerPoint included with this was created by Jessica Burley for the town of Breckenridge. I didn't steal it from her. I borrowed it from her, but 100% her work on the PowerPoint. But this is kind of a wrap up of where we are. Mountain Energy Project is finally moving forward. It was 2 years ago that Excel proposed the Mountain Energy Project because they cannot, at times of peak demand, provide enough natural gas to basically Keystone, Breckenridge, and Grand Lake. All of the jurisdictions in Summit County, well, not all of the jurisdictions, Summit County, Keystone, Breck, Frisco, Dillon, and Silverthorne all participate, formed the Mountain Communities Coalition to intervene in the PUC decision. Each community had very different driving forces for why they were intervening. For instance, Breckenridge, very big into environmental sustainability, and their concerns were how did this advance environmental sustainability? Our biggest concern, I feel, was the proposed cost pass-through that was going to happen with this and how that would affect all of our citizens. Everyone had concerns with every aspect, though, just different towns, different aspects. So the final decision, the Mountain Energy Project settlement between the communities and Excel was approved by the PUC, which includes $48.7 million in non-pipeline alternatives. Those are the incentives, basically. That's money that they're giving to control demand side, try to electrify our residences, our businesses up here as much as possible. 28 million is going to go to electric infrastructure upgrades so that our businesses and residents could electrify, and then 78.6 million in supplemental supply. That's the liquefied natural gas injection site over by Breckenridge and the compressed natural gas injection site that will go somewhere between here and Dillon.
Real quick, what's the difference?
Liquefied natural gas is significantly more dangerous.
And that's the one not near us.
That's the one not near us. Yes. And the absolute, you can pack a whole lot more BTUs into liquefied than just compressed natural gas.
And that's because the demand for that injection site's going to be higher than the demand for our injections. Is there a concern that in 5 years, all of a sudden the CNG is not going to be enough?
No, not, the entire purpose of this plan was
Longevity,
longevity.
even though Excel's stated goal is to reduce or eliminate natural gas usage by what, 2050?
Yes.
It's 0 by 550. What, well, can we ask questions?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. What if part of the plan has high hopes that we'll have significant electrification? What if we don't? What happens?
Well, then we'll have to come back with a different plan.
Will they ever put in a pipeline?
It will, any changes to this will have to go through the PUC.
I want to compliment Excel on it. Actually, really considering the constraints that the PUC and the governor and the legislature has put on them, this is a good plan.
So
It's not the best plan. It's going to cost the consumers a lot.
new pipeline or new supply side production was estimated to cost over twice the cost of this plan.
And but the total cost of everything
Yeah,
over time, if that's amortized like it's traditionally amortized, not like the PUC is telling them right now.
yeah.
I agree. Right now, the way PUC tells them now that they can amortize, yes, that's correct. If they amortize it like local, like normal, it wouldn't. And it's going to cost our consumers a lot. I did an analysis last night on just my bill, considering, I just want to put it out there.
Yeah.
Considering that, forgetting about, assuming I get everything electrified for free through rebates, which by the way, doesn't cover all that. Assuming, and not including the 10% increase in rates that they're anticipating for the summer, it's going up 10%. My monthly cost would double by doing away with all gas electrification in my house. It will double. So that's not included in this. The analysis is that the impact to the consumers that we're going to have to pay more. Now, that said, it's the law. Our governor and the legislature said, we're going to do this for carbon neutrality by 2050. I forget how much by 2030. They put the constraint on the utility. This is the best that the utility can come up with, but it's not great for the consumer from a cost perspective.
Which is why actually the hybrid program is at this point kind of the best solution for us, because you're not being forced to give up your natural gas. They are taking steps to ensure that there's adequate natural gas supply. The main purpose of this program, I think, yes, they would love everyone to retrofit, but I think it's more attractive financially for new builds to.
Well, that's what, hence the question earlier was, if people don't do it, which, according to my little math, I'm not going to do it. Does that put this success at risk?
It very well could, if people don't. There's a lot of different parts to this. If people don't do it, but people say in the Front Range do buy into similar programs that will come up in the future for them, then we'll still have the natural gas we need to supply up here.
Just so I'm 100% sure I'm understanding, and I'm making an assumption, so I just want to double check. The increasing costs that you're talking about is because an electric baseboard heating system will cost you more to heat per square foot than a gas system.
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, I took I took my bill from last month. No, fair is that time month, and turned them all into energy units, both gas and electric, and said, okay, forget it. It's all electric. What would the cost be today? And it went up, it doubled.
And so I'm just making up a number, 10 energy units are needed to heat your house with gas. And so 10 energy units for gas versus 10 energy units of electricity, that's the doubling we're seeing. Okay.
Yeah. That's it.
And
There's a reason people
one
have
big,
gas.
but there's one big part of this program is the heat pumps. And that's where you're going to see significant savings because it's not a one-for-one gas to electric. It's,
I mean, there's lots of
yeah.
caveats.
Yeah.
But it's the price difference is very dramatic. Over doubling, not including the 10% increase
Yeah.
that they're going to throw at us.
I'll give you some real experience numbers. In my condominium, it was built all electric, baseboard heating. Fireplace, because you had to have, everyone had fireplaces. We have a gas fireplace now. And my utility cost in the winter with the existing structure when I bought the unit was about $300, $350 a month.
With the electricity.
With the electricity. I now use the upstairs unit fireplace to heat the upstairs, and the downstairs with airflow going down, a fan airflow going down, has reduced my heating cost by at least 30%, maybe 40%. So that's.
And one more, sorry about the soapbox. I guess we're fighting so hard to make housing affordable for everybody up here. And I look at something like this, that is a big percentage of household costs, potentially doubling if you're electrified, you know, I mean, simple stuff. And that just, it just bothers me for my populace here. But that's.
but if you're not paying the cost for your initial heating source in a house because of these rebates. So let's say I put heat pump in affordable housing, and that's $3,500 per heating ton. So affordable housing unit, 2,000 square feet. We're talking about a 15 to 20,000 rebate here to put a heat pump in, which will significantly cut your utility costs because you're not using the electricity to heat. It's not like running the baseboard. You're just running the electricity to get the free heat that we're getting out of the earth. That actually would make it significantly more affordable. Now, there are some things that just simply electrifying is not going to make it more affordable, but there are certain aspects of this that very well could make your bill go significantly down.
I guess the problem, we're going to be asked over the next 6 months to sell this program. I want to be honest with our constituents, is that because it's some of the earlier material that's come out about how to sell this is that, oh, it's going to reduce costs. It's not going to reduce costs. So I think the state has decided that going carbon free is the way the state wants to go. Fine, they will cross that bridge. Let's.
I think the nuance, right? I know you calculated for your particular house, but once again, when you throw that sustainability piece in, and the house I have over here in Linwood Pass Village is all electric baseboards. And so I'm going to save money if I can get into this program and get a heat pump instead of electric baseboards. There's also, we just heard from High Country Conservation about, sealing your house, making it more energy efficient. So there are ways to implement some of these things and make it more sustainable.
You saw Excel at $365 in the HC3 for sealing and insulation.
If I can save a third of my energy bill by doing that, and the new windows that I just put in, it can be.
It's true and valid and important, but it's not a direct comparison.
For the discussion we're having,
We can't control
we
this.
can't control it. Why don't we move back to the MET program?
I really quickly, I think that that's an important part that when we talk about this with our constituents is that at the end of the day, what we did was fight for something that was better than the worst case scenario.
Right.
And we got there, right? Is it mathematically the cheapest? Possibly not, right? And I'm not going to say.
Complimenting the team.
And Aaron does have his hand up. I want to call that out.
Aaron.
I think on Dan's concern that if there is an increase in gas demand or insufficient electrification, this whole process could be for naught. There is something that we could potentially do, and that's look at, while we have an excellent program in place to incentivize new builds to be electric and efficient, there is still potentially the ability for us to look at some regulation around making sure that if gas is used, it's used things to make foams, it's used in a way that won't impact home affordability, especially for existing gas users. And, that first thing that comes to mind is very large snowmelt projects that are gas powered. That might be something that we want to look at, whether that belongs in our community in future projects.
Well,
Just a thought.
And a point there that you said that I want to make sure we highlight is large snowmelt projects that are gas powered.
Yeah, right.
Not snowmelt projects, just gas powered.
Precisely. That was my meaning.
That's a great point. I'm just wondering what plan B is, because I'm worried about plan A. But back to this, I think it was well done. As far as.
And plan A was 400 million
So what's plan C?
spread out over this limited community, which would have.
And now it's across the state, is that correct? Yeah, which is.
And it's 140 million, not 400 million. So
that would have been a disaster for us all.
That would have been a disaster for us all. So
kudos.
Yeah, so let's.
I just kind of wanted to go over. You can see what the rebates are. I learned what a heating ton was recently. It's literally what it takes to melt a ton of ice.
Oh, really?
Yes. And now our idea is the XLHC3, we don't have to do much. We don't have to go sell this to our community. We have to present something like this so that when our community comes and sees what council's doing, they can look into it. But this is not something we're going to have to
Defend. We don't.
Yeah.
And Excel will have the job to pitch these new ideas.
Exactly.
They got it approved.
So any
more comments?
Any more
I think
comments?
we share what we need to share.
Okay. Okay, and apparently today has turned into an energy sustainability day, because I'll throw this to Jess next, who will be doing our next Mountain Towns Ask.
So Tori Sowell from Mountain Towns 2030 reached out to me after I attended the Mountain Towns Climate Summit last fall and asked if we wanted to join their Anchor Community Partnership. This gives us an opportunity to be more closely involved in the leadership of Mountain Towns 2030, as well as some other opportunities that come from being part of this group. That includes a seat on their advisory council, more marketing spread across all of the work that they do that specifically shows the town of Keystone being part of this coalition, as well as 2 complimentary registrations for their annual climate summit. They ask in return that the investment we make to support them is $3,000 for annual budgets less than 50 million. We can decide if we think this is a good opportunity or not, and whatever you all want to do, I will communicate with Tori from Mountain Towns 2030. And the attached presentation has some additional information that you can, if you have any further questions, I'd be happy to reach out and find out more.
John.
Thank you. I personally love this, so thanks for bringing this forward. While I definitely agree with the ideals, most of the ideals of Mountain Towns 2030, and I did attend the conference last year as well. I think that the big part for me that's important about this is a seat at the table. and not necessarily at the table, right? But at least being on that advisory board so that if a state like Colorado comes forward with this awesome 2050 goal of reducing natural gas down to zero, we can be like, but wait, what about Keystone and the mountain towns that need natural gas as a realistic source of heating? So I think for me, it's the complimentary tickets are awesome. And yes, registration, I think is like, at least last year was like $400 or something, right? So that alone has a value to it, right? But for me, it's more being involved in the process and being involved in driving Keystone's message on those groups and in those groups. And I also, again, like I mentioned at the beginning, support a lot of the mission that the work does, or that the group does.
I want to be clear. Being a member of Mountain Towns or being a, heck is this called here? Anchor does not place any binding commitments on us.
Except for the $3,000.
Except for the $3,000. They have goals, Mountain Towns 2030 of energy,
Carbon
neutral issues like that.
They're more aggressive than the state.
Right. They are.
Goals. And I'm not supportive of the group.
Their goals, not mandates.
Yes, correct.
However, the goals indicate the nature of what they are going to be advocating.
Right.
And our ability to influence that as a 1,200 person community is going to be zero.
What was it called? Advisory board?
The advisory board.
Thank you.
We're going to be such a small voice on the advisory board, we won't have any impact. Carol.
There are other places that we can put that $3,000 to suggest that a town with a $3.5 million, whatever we are, should be paying the same as a $49 million kind of concerns me. I haven't heard, and I would like to hear, maybe you can give us a written report or sometime. I don't know what happened at Mountain Town 2030 in Breck last year. I'm not trying to put you on the spot now, but I don't know what the value of this is. I've been all over their website and I understand what they're doing, but by going to their summits on an annual basis, which are not expensive, not inexpensive, as you noted, I think we do have some power to influence. More importantly, it does give us a heads up on the kinds of things that they will be advocating for so we can see it coming before it hits our legislature, which we have every opportunity to influence. So I don't think we're in a position now to need to lead in this space, especially since we're kind of between community development directors. It's probably not the best year to do this.
Other thoughts?
Yeah, so Carol, I like the idea of if there's a way to kind of figure out what we're getting for that $3,000. I mean, I've read this. I've talked to members of this in other communities, specifically Steamboat, and what advantage I've heard they've gotten was to be able to help solve some kind of local problems without having to get a large consultant to come in and say, oh, here's some ideas to kind of fix that. But once again, Steamboat has more resources than we do. And, what kind of benefit can we have? I read this and I think we could get some definite benefit from it, but I don't know exactly how in our particular way. So something along those lines of, besides just having a seat at the table, what have other towns done? Have they solved specific problems by being a member of this to be able to bring it and bounce it off their cohorts and figure out, actual real world solutions? So I don't know if we can get that. I don't know if there's some of the other membership towns that can tell us, here's 5 things that we got out of this that made the $3,000 worthwhile to them.
I can certainly reach out to ask for more information about that.
Yeah, and just see if there is a benefit. Right now, reading this, you know, some people don't think that, I think we could get some, but I can't quantify.
Yeah, I think it's important to be able to attend their annual conference, to understand what's going on. I'm not sure it's worth the additional dollars to be a member.
I can't help but think that when we are in a position to consider ourselves ready to be leader in this space, I'll bet that offer will still be all open.
Yeah, I don't think it's a one-time offer.
So let's just
Yeah.
bump it down.
And just incidentally, the advisory council is a small group. We would have a voice. There are 6 people on it
But
currently.
we don't have the background.
Oh, I know. I'm
It's
just,
significant.
Wait, did you just say there's 6 people on the
contributor.
advisory council?
yes.
And how can we offer us an opportunity to be on the advisory council as a, I mean, is Dylan, Silverthorne, and Frisco on their advisory council? Are they members?
Breckenridge is, I'm not sure who John Gitchell is representing right now. He's a Summit County guy. I think he might be in Vail right now. None of the other towns are on their advisory council right now. But I agree. This is something we haven't fleshed out what role we want. I think this is part of our strategic plan where we need input from our community members on what role do they see, climate and energy sustainability.
Well, and I
for
think
Keystone.
if we could tie to, oh my gosh, I forget who talked about this earlier, so I'm not even going to try to attempt to guess one of the 3 of you that were speaking. But if we could tie the work that they're doing to one of the things we just talked about, the plan from the retreat, right? Like mountain towns could help us with mining mitigation, which I know is one of the long-term goals, right? Or things like that, right? If we could tie a tangible outcome to it, I think that because what I'm hearing is some hesitation, right? And so I think if we could tie that to there, get it over the finish line. The tickets have a finite value, right? The tickets have a easy to find value, but the other stuff is harder to quantify.
Yeah, and I agree. This is just, they asked us to bring it up. We want to.
So you brought it up. All right.
I'm sorry, so are we tabling this or are we getting more information?
More
on what?
information.
More information.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
All right. Next item is financials.
We'll throw this right to our finance director, Heike Fox.
Mayor and council members. So we have in the packet December tax revenues and January financials. I did even notes and graphs, and so I don't know if you guys want me to go through each and everything, or if you just want to open it up to questions as normal.
Questions, anybody?
Comment, I'm shocked and pleased, considering the snow challenges that we have, that, our sales taxes are relatively good.
Yeah, December sales tax came in quite nicely.
Yeah, we don't have a sense of January yet, right?
Well, we don't have a January sales tax, but January's lodging tax is up about 3% from last year.
Oh, 3%.
Yeah, no, there's a caveat there. First of all, that means it's 3% above what we budgeted. So that's a good thing. But January of last year was the first year we had lodging tax. So there very well might have been missed payments, technical problems with individual taxpayers getting it all done. But then another caveat, our big taxpayers of the lodging tax, like Verbo, Airbnb, some of the large rental companies, their numbers were actually up too. So I think it's safe to say that January was better than last year.
I mean, that's just fascinating to me because there's double-digit declines in occupancy across the I-70 corridor.
Yeah.
So the fact that we're up is mind-blowing.
Yeah, and the other piece, just on the lodging tax side of January, lodging tax would would have some of the lodging tax that was generated earlier months for the small payers that would have been paid in January. So that could have driven that a little bit, I think. Am I right?
So for last January, we would have collected, because the way our ordinance is written, even though they might have made reservations in prior months, if the booking was January 1st or after, then they had to pay that 2%.
Yeah, but this year we had some bookings that for the small payers, onesies and twosies, we had some bookings that's deferred payment till later in the year. So they would have fall bookings that for those small providers would have been paid in January and would have bumped our number up a little bit in January.
Could have.
We have a provision that allows the small provider, they don't have to pay every month.
I didn't know that. Okay, good to know. Thanks. I'd also like to think that maybe I'm a Pollyanna, but with Keystone's first out this year and some pretty heavy publicity, that may have balanced out some of those folks who were saying, "Oh, I'm just going to cancel my reservation." So we'll see how it shows up over the next 2 months.
Yeah, it'll be interesting as we go through. I've been maintaining to anyone I talk to that Keystone has the best snow conditions for beginner and intermediate groomed runs probably in the state right now. Well, as of 2 weeks ago,
Maybe not for us to do.
as a week and a half ago. And that may contributed for the expert skiers. The answer is no.
Right.
But our guests who come in for lodging aren't the expert skiers. They're predominantly the beginner intermediate.
I was kind of concerned by something I read in the paper, an analysis that the backcountry and the high and the double black skiers prefer luxury accommodations. That doesn't even make sense to me, but it'll be interesting to see how all this lays out.
Where did you read that?
So daily, of course.
Okay. And that being said, we do have the ultimate extreme terrain when there's snow.
When there's snow.
Yeah. Just up the road.
Okay.
Plus, we have the lowest tax rates in the county.
We'd say that one more time, Heike?
Really high. I know ours is for lodging, it's 8.375 versus like some of the others, I think they'll have it 20%. So,
And I think our visitors are very sensitive to that. Yeah.
so
Okay.
And there is, for awareness, in case you weren't aware, there's a new no junk fee law that went into effect January 1st. So when you're booking lodging, you have to have the upfront price there. And so when a guest is looking and noticing, so when we get the feedback, like nobody's going to check the taxes. No,
Yeah,
no,
they do.
they do. And so it's like the new law shows the upfront cost there.
They show its requirement for total cost.
Total, yeah, sorry.
Nice. Any other questions?
Right. Other questions?
I'd like to point one other thing out. We have very, very healthy fund balances. So even if February, March, and whatever we get in April are significantly down, we can continue to provide the same level of service and investment in our community without panic.
And it's also good news that we have NBS coming back this year to bring that big bump.
That's true.
Well, yeah, honestly, a group like that sets the base so you can raise the ADR.
You guys haven't seen the final December financials yet. But we're ending 2025 with a general fund balance of about 3.6.
General fund?
Conscientious financial management. That's what we've committed.
Yep. Conscientious, that's a good name.
You gonna go a shirt or something?
Right, yeah, let's buy that.
I gotta get that on our head.
With the shadows, I can't see, is there food out there already or not?
I don't know either.
Yes.
There is, all right. All right, is there?
This one would last longer. Thought this one would last longer.
Big questions remain to be answered, right?
We have an hour and 17 minutes. I don't think we've ever had that before.
Of the last item on the agenda is council manager issues. You want to cover some of your items you'll cover during the,
Sure, I might as well get my managers before we've got a little time here.
Is there concern about this being in the minutes later or anything like that? Thank you.
it's not a decision.
We can put highlights in the minutes as necessary, but so Public Works, we've been having a lot of discussions and figuring out a lot of things on our medians. Finding out where they're broken, where they're not, what it's going to cost to get water service to medians. We're going to have in-depth discussions on what we do with our medians. I think regardless of what we do, we're going to want at least trees in them.
When you say medians are broken, are you talking about the water lines?
Water lines,
dead
electric
trees or what?
lines, dead trees, our medians are going to be an issue.
And
that
electric.
If our taxes start coming in where expected, I think we should start talking. It's going to be a short, long-term project. It's we're not going to be able to do all our medians at once. It's
Okay.
going to be multiple years. But
Have the Vail teams that have previously managed these spaces been engaged with our teams?
yes,
And not necessarily
Yes.
operating meetings, right? But
yeah,
hey, for 20 years, you did operate the meetings.
Yes.
Where the body's buried.
yeah, and problem is for 15 years they did operate, and then for the last 5 they're just
I mean, they've been out there every year purging the lines and stuff. And
those meetings where it works, and we paid for it last year.
Oh, that's what I wanted to know, because didn't KOA come up kind of late in the fall and say, by the way, we've been paying for the lights? Are you
No,
paying that up?
KOA has never paid for.
Who was paying that? Somebody else?
Vail.
It was Val?
Right.
So we picked that up
Yes.
to the extent that is feasible.
Well, we will. We haven't
Give us-
yet, but this going forward, we're going to have to. Because
Okay.
we're not going to do it.
Okay.
And the second,
When you're talking medians, it wouldn't surprise me to see median cost of somewhere between 3 and 5 million.
yeah, I could very well see that. The problem is they're out there.
Yeah.
And even tearing them out, it would be
Yeah.
astronomically expensive, so we might as well repair, replace. This will be a whole discussion. I don't see grass on our medians going forth into the future. It's
one of the things that I wonder, right, is when we talk about, and I'm just thinking Dylan's talking about putting roundabouts in, right? Almost the chicken before the egg, right? If we kick the ball down the road for 3 years in the medians, what's really going to happen? A tree falls, we cut it up and put it away. Grass doesn't grow. Okay, whatever. Yeah, I understand it's not going to look great, but if we're going to, in 3 years, plan on putting a roundabout somewhere here, I would hate to spend $3 million on replacing the median and then being like, oh, let's rip out this brand new median to put this new roundabout. What I'm trying to get at here is the median assessment going to be taken into consideration with any kind of traffic study or road study on there?
it will be. it will be moving forward along with our road plans. And there are some medians, there's not going to be a roundabout at this intersection.
Sure.
There are plenty of medians that are not going to have to be torn out. Although, as we talked about last meeting, parts of the medians down there were just ridiculously built in the first place. But we will be strategic in how we're approaching which medians we're going to be addressing.
Is there, if you think that we're going to have, you're installing medians in 3 years, you're delusional. There's no way you're going to get CDOT or roundabouts 3 years, you're delusional. There's no way you're going to get CDOT approval to put medians in here anywhere less than probably close to 10 years.
So is there a possibility to, and I'm just throwing this out there, Vail has managed these since the inception. Can we just pay them to figure out what's wrong with it?
They don't want.
They don't want it? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's also there ugly, like, we don't want to touch it.
We don't want to touch it. Yeah.
When these medians were built, when the roadway went from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, Vail picked up the responsibility to maintain the medians at that point.
But not on paper.
Yeah,
There was no.
we can't find the document that says they have that. And even if they did at the current level they're putting into it, I'm not sure it's to the town's benefit to continue it.
I mean, we're talking a $3 to $5 million rebuild for the medians. How's that not a benefit?
No. You couldn't force them to rebuild.
Oh, just maintain it.
They just continue to limp along,
What's wrong with
which
that?
we're going to have to do. We're going to have to limp on some of them if it's a price tag that high.
It's overall appearance, it's overall traffic calming. There's a whole bunch of safety reasons that you want to maintain.
I get it. I'm not sold on the median, as you can probably tell. So like, I'd love to know these reasons when $3 to $5 million is obviously a large expense. So
We assume that'll be part of the discussion you bring to us. That's
Yeah.
Okay.
There are 2 parts to the meetings. It's how do we want to fix them? Because they're broken and they need to be fixed. Fundamentally, we might have the basic outline of the median, but everything from the curb up has to be redone on almost all of our medians. So that'll be the first part of the question. Then the second part is how are they maintained? And to tell the truth, that's really minor. It's an administrative staff decision. We put out an RFP and get Nils Lunsford and Alpine Gardens and Vail Resorts, if they want to bid on maintaining our medians.
okay.
And that is a $20,000 a year cost to maintain the medians.
Well, we'll have this discussion because there's probably other ideas and funding ideas.
Yes. But I just wanted to say, we've started really investigating where the fundamental problems are, where electricity has failed, where water has failed, issues like that. Working with the water district and Excel. Clerk, we have the big important STR listening session. Our quarterly STR listening session is tomorrow from 4 to 6. We'll also be doing interviews for our clerk on March 11th. So that's moving on. ComDev, community development, our comp plan will be coming, integrating the last round of comments to the council on the 10th. And then what's our timeline for the rest of it, Lindsay?
So depending upon that, we are looking at potential adoption with P&Z April, losing track of time, in April, and then very likely endorsement with council shortly thereafter. There are some degree of noticing requirements that we have to abide by, but that is the tentative plan right now. What was that again?
Comprehensive.
Comp plan adoption and endorsement.
And Lindsay's leaving and as I told us 2 weeks ago, we'll be having a surprise party for him.
We should think about what that surprise will be.
Just none of us show up.
The staff might enjoy that to watch.
It's a point in my career, I wouldn't say this. That'd be great.
Interestingly, planning has really picked up, just individual cases. A lot of remodels and surprising amount of new construction considering how limited our development is, how few lots we have left.
I'm of the belief that you're going to see some more complex projects, rezoning type things in the relative near future. Why?
Because you've been putting them off till you leave.
No, a couple of them have been talked about for quite some time, and for various reasons, they want to proceed. So I am doing my best to work with Jess and whoever comes on to help as best I can with regards to the history and how things currently work.
It'd be great if, not a lot of work, don't spend a lot of work, but every now and then give us some statistics out. Yep, new housing, new condo, just something, it'd be good to know for us.
And that is actually quite easy to do.
Yeah.
We get monthly reports from the Summit County Building Department with regards to the number of permits and types.
Okay.
We'll just put that in the packet. Enough.
So if I were to build a new or remodel in the town of Keystone, I start with the county? I don't start with the town?
You start with the county, get the paperwork, make sure that your general contractor or yourself knows what needs to be submitted. You provide it, you gather that, and you bring it to the town, me, and we review it from the planning perspective. If it complies, we stamp, then it goes to the county for the building permit review and issuance.
We'll be having an in-depth discussion this summer on how we process building, planning things. Generally, especially if it's a large project, they won't start with the county. They'll come to us because.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm concerned about. Yeah.
Yeah, because they know they're not going to go pull a building permit and pay for it.
If they don't know what.
They're not confident that it'll get through planning.
That is correct. I took your question in the context of building a single family
Okay.
as opposed to.
I did set it up that way, so thank you. for
But
that
even as
distinction.
we've seen, if you're building a single family, I'd recommend you make sure your house is going to get through planning. We've had a couple one hiccup house. Costing them a whole lot of money because of changes that are being required.
Just because they were not aware of the requirements.
Oh, they were.
Yeah, the requirements are pretty clear. They just.
Hadn't gotten the approval. They figured they could fudge it and yeah.
Yeah, it was a series of unfortunate events. They could have been prevented by the private party that was working on the project. So these things happen on occasion. Some people you can't save from themselves. Long story short, I believe they're back on track.
Thank you.
Okay, finance, we've talked all about that, except now that Becky is working hard to prepare us for our audit, making sure we have all the receipts, all the documentation that will be necessary so the audit can go smoothly. The lodging tax module worked just as advertised. We're really happy with that. We've gotten a lot of good comments about that. And we've had our first court appearance on our very large lodging tax deficiency that one of our owners here has had. We've had to take him to court. It's an ongoing process, so.
You were able to serve said person or group?
Able to serve sub.
And how does, this is not an actual number, but XYZ number is the back-of lodging tax, right? And I presume we're gonna have representation from legal?
Yes.
And so Jennifer's hourly rate, whatever that ends up being, I guess the staff time and effort, whether it's attorney or other staff that gets put into this, is that also gonna be billed to them if there's a settlement?
You know, the mayor and I had this question. I'm going to throw this right at.
Well, I mean, I think it really depends. So if the case, and I would recommend not really talking in depth about an ongoing case in an open meeting. But as a general matter, in municipal court, no.
Okay.
You do not get your legal fees covered. That there are other claims that can be made. The town can be a party to a civil case, and that may be different in a civil case. Also, the cases that you file in municipal court, you may have attorney fees provisions in our ordinances that would allow us to collect fees. So it's not, you know, traffic cases for sure. No, you do not get your legal fees.
And we knew that when we were talking about the traffic, like that was a question I remember asking, right? Okay.
And also for the municipal court case, your prosecutor is Mark Hurlbert. He's handling that case, but I'm communicating with him about it.
And please remind me with the municipal court and Mark's fee structure, is that a fixed contribution or is it based on case volume?
It's based on the contract that we have with the joint contract that we have with the other municipalities. It's a fee, it's a fixed fee.
Based on number of cases, right?
Right.
Okay. And just, I guess, as a reminder, right, the idea with municipal court that we've talked about is not necessarily as a revenue generator, it's compliance.
Right. Okay. This one is different though, because it is revenue.
Well, I mean, but it's regardless, like it's compliance with the rules that we've stated, right? Yes, there's a revenue.
Oh, in this case, we want
Recovery.
Yeah.
Our police will hear all about them next meeting. I'll have reports from January and February on police calls, responses in the Keystone area out to you before the meeting. Planning and zoning in April, right, is when the reappointments?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to, we don't have term limits for our planning and zoning commissioners. Although we reference them in the ordinances that form them, we didn't actually adopt any term limits. So I will be bringing proposal for creating term limits for planning and zoning.
Hot take, and I know we can debate it later. If council has the power and authority to override anything from P&Z, and we have seen a concerning interest level in being involved, do we want to set a super restrictive term limit? I'm just posing the question.
I would say no. I think you basically set a pretty liberal term limit, maybe up to 12 years, somewhere around there. You need to have turnover. You can't have, if someone has been on a planning commission for too long, they just dominate the planning and zoning commission and tend to want to form their own little quasi town councils.
To answer what did I mean by the question, we didn't get enough town council candidates even to to run, right?
Yeah.
And so if we're seeing lack of interest on our level, what's to say in 2 years when P and Z turns over that there's going to be lack of interest? So why would we shoot ourselves in the foot with an overly restrictive term limit when town council has the authority to overrule anything from P and Z?
Most anything, but so I think it should be a pretty liberal. And generally, after 12 years, people will be burned out.
Yeah. The good news moment is because we're so new, we're still leave 2 years in place. As you recall, we rotate terms. There are 3 current members up for reappointment. And one of them has already replied that she would like to re-up. I believe, who's to say what's going to happen, but I would not be surprised if the other 2 would like to re-up as well. So from that standpoint, we're in good shape.
Great job.
Okay. The money for
When folks work with Lindsay, they want to stay on. When they work with John, they run for the hills.
Can we make sure that gets in the record?
I would say when they work with John, they're comfortable about the way things are going. And we'll leave it at that. Let's see. The money for the bear grants has finally come to the state. Good. We'll be getting that. I'll be bringing forth in the next couple of meetings our 2 grant programs for adoption by you, this grant program and the others. As part of that money now becoming available, we're driving around town and identifying particularly dumpster violations that we'll be going after once we have.
So that when you reach out and say you're wrong, we can help you out with this solution.
Yes.
Okay.
Have you reached out at all to any of them? And if so, have there been any reactions or things we should be aware of?
Some of them we've reached out to and said they have to get their acts together right away, right now. Some places, for instance, Gateway, we've reached out to and they've been very cooperative on how we're going to go forward.
So generally speaking, if I could sum that up, there's not been like a, wow, we had no idea, or like, this is terrible.
No, well, while we've had no idea from people who their dumpsters are in such bad condition, it's common sense that that's not acceptable.
Or common sense.
Well, no, trash spread around the dumpster, outside the dumpster, issues like that.
Since we are entering beer season soonish and sooner than later, probably this year. And there will be some renewed interest from residents. Residents can still apply,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And they really kind of need to if they want to get in front of the grants that we'll be giving to bigger.
Correct.
Okay. Retailers, et cetera.
Let me see. County did say they're going to put strong futures up for reauthorization on the ballot this November.
Okay.
They're not going to raise the taxes. It'll be same level it's currently at. Let's see, we had the Summit County Housing Authority Board retreat last week. It went really well. A lot of talk on how we can have more interjurisdictional cooperation on projects, which I thought was really fitting after we just did the Habitat for Humanity bill in the county ourselves. So I think that's it's a good way to move forward and leverage all of our money. It's actually the way when these taxes were passed that they were kind of sold that there'd be these big cooperative projects, and then they start giving the monies to each town, and each town said, well, I have some priorities I have to take care of first.
Was there any conversation about the Prop 123 and the allocation of those? How so the Habitat for Humanity one, for example, we talked about.
That's the BOCC decision, right?
Yeah, but was there any pulse on that and if that was?
Not yet. The idea was this was a high level retreat. It's like, so those issues will be as we're focusing down on, we want more cooperation. Well, how does this
How do we
play
make
out?
cooperation? Right.
Yeah. Frisco, Dylan, Silverthorne, and I are going to be together to talk about fire codes. So that's happening next week. As I said, we have some community building, 4th of July. Gabby's in charge of that and doing a great job already. Cleanup day is coming May 30th. We're putting grad signs out, and I think where we're going is we're going to put kind of like election boards in our dead medians.
Just to distract people from.
Well, we don't have the street lights with the banner other than in.
Oh, yeah.
River
So
Run
you're talking
Village.
in order to advertise the.
No, for our graduates. Like every town.
Oh, high school grads.
High school graduates.
Every town out here does that. They don't do that out east.
Yeah, no, and it's a relatively new thing. The question for you as a town council on this. Most of the other towns just do Summit High School or Peak School or Snowy Peaks grad, are resident graduates. Let's say we have a second homeowner here who has a kid who goes to Highlands Ranch High School. Do we have any interest in recognizing them if they want to be? Okay.
Well,
I mean, you're talking staff time to track these people down.
No, only if they reach out. We've sent out emails to our list where we've posted. We're not going to track down.
Well, one thing, and I'm going to lean on Councilmember Allen here, and I distinctly remember this part of the conversation we had, is that you viewed Keystone as your home base when you moved around a lot with the military. And so is that something that would have been cool for your family to have, or? Because I'm just imagining those types of people that like.
Yeah, I mean, once again, we're trying to build that sense of community, and I'm not sure that would have done that at the time for that. Yeah, I don't.
So move on to other instances.
I was gonna say, I don't see an advantage.
Okay, so we'll just.
Thank you.
Full-time residents.
Has anyone reached out?
People who reach out to you.
Yeah. Yeah, outside.
Where am I? So, in case you didn't know, at this point, the KNC suit was dismissed without prejudice, meaning dissolved KNC group can cure the faults in their pleadings that the judge found and refile the suit. But as of right now, it is my understanding that they haven't refiled, so the suit has been dismissed. Mayor mentioned Brotherhood of Snow Sports is coming. He's this weekend already. I'm going to be setting up our first business advisory committee meeting beginning of April, before everyone leaves on vacation right after they've dealt with the spring breakers in March. And there will be a county wildfire forum on March 17th from 1 to 3 p.m.
Say that date again.
March 17th will be at the BOCC. BOCC has cut the number of meetings they had, and they've reserved one of those dates for
Special meeting.
special meeting.
What's going to be discussed?
Everything from the wildland urban interface law to just what steps are being taken to prepare for this coming wildfire season if it proves to be as bad as it might be. And last bit is
Sorry, on that, like what would be different than what we learned a couple of meetings ago? It sounds like that the big important thing is what could change this summer.
Yeah, and it'll be, I'm not exactly sure. For you, it's not going to be such a big deal because we've had fire departments come in, but other individuals may be very interested in zooming in and just finding out what's happening. I imagine the Forest Service will be telling us things like we'll be making our decisions probably earlier than we have in the past, and you'll know where you sit on fireworks and things like that, commercial fireworks. We know where we sit on fireworks. And our next meeting is March 10th. I will be gone Thursday and Friday. I'm going back to Wisconsin.
That it? All right. In that case, I'll adjourn the meeting and we'll reconvene at 7 o'clock for the